Hi there, my name is Kendrick, and welcome to another ENFP male interview. Today, I get to interview Daniel. So, Daniel, welcome, man.
Hey bro, how's it going?
Good, dude. So, can you tell us your full type, please?
Yeah, so I am an ESTP jumper. I am SE-FE. So SE first, FE second instead of FE third. And my animal stack is play, consume, sleep, blast. My modalities are double feminine.
All right. And then, what did you think, and how did you feel when you got your results back?
Yeah, man. So I the I wasn't as traumatized as I thought I would be. Because like way back in January, I had thought I was an INTJ. And I submitted like a typing video to the community, and they were like, bro, whatever this is, you are not an INTJ. And so like that's when I was traumatized. And so like in the months following, so that was January 2020. So in the months 2021, in the months following, I had course corrected. I was like, okay, I just don't know the terms well enough. So, I joined the classes. I learned everything I could about the system. So I thought by like last month that I was like an ISTP, um, consume, play, sleep, blast. And then when I got my type back, I realized that like I mistook my double activated animal as my lead animal. So that's basically the main thing I got wrong. Everything else, like I was pretty accurate in like seeing reality aside from double decider.
Yeah, right. Like ISTP is it is pretty close to what you got.
Yeah. Yeah. Cause like the play consume sleep, it's like overall it's introverted, right? So
Yeah.
I thought like in my mind that like if I'm overall introverted, maybe my dominant function is introverted. So that's what I was thinking. I was thinking with the using the TI. So that I thought it was self-above tribe.
Yeah, you got the same function stack as Shan. So you're
Yeah, basically, yeah. And
yeah,
and Rihanna.
Rihanna.
So
Right, right. Yeah, yeah. She's like from Barbados, right?
yeah,
Yeah, yeah.
yeah.
Cool, man. So how did you get into the whole personality thing? Like what made you decide to? Because like ESTPs, they're not common in like the people who come in and get typed. Like ESTP
Yeah.
is like one of the ones that it's not very common. So how did you personally get into it?
Yeah, so I actually like I got into it to understand like people a little bit better. Like I felt like there was like a little bit of friction between me and people in terms of like how well I understood them. So in general, like I learned about like MBTI maybe like in the middle of high school, kind of like learning the system and stuff. I always thought I was like INTJ, INTP, never ESTP. Because like in my mind, I'm an introvert, right? So eventually what happened is that I think I saw what a lot of people in OPS now see, that they were like, well, MBTI is very like it's very horoscopic, it's very reductive, the world's more than 16 types. So I kind of threw it away until like the middle of university. My friend who does psychology was like, well, give MBTI a chance. So I went down the rabbit hole again, and I found the functions. And so when I was trying to learn about the functions, I found Dave's channel. And so that's when I figured out about OPS, and that was around 2019. And I've been like learning about it ever since.
Sweet dude. Um, let's go over your parts then. The
Sure.
first one is you are tribe above self. Um,
Yeah,
so
yeah,
that was your big surprise. You thought you were self
yeah.
above tribe. I can relate because also when I got my type back, I was like, oh,
No, really.
tribe above
Yeah,
self. I thought I was so selfish. But anyways,
yeah,
like
right. Yeah.
yeah, I didn't know I was like killing myself for other people. But anyway, so how do you now that you know that you're tribe above self, how has that changed your perspective about life and like how you act and behave?
Yeah, I mean, now I just know, I'm gonna be way more selfish from now on. Now it's I think I just like I realized how much I actually do drop my obligations for other people. I thought that, it was mainly what I was interested in, and I still like have a wide like array of interests, but like I didn't realize how strong that obligation to people was. Also, I understand though why I might not have seen the tribe above self, because like that savior is like feminine FE third, right? So it's like movable, it's the third function. So it feels weak, even though it's like a savior, you know. My TI feels like a whole lot stronger actually. So yeah. But in general, like when it comes to like I guess tracking social cues, when it comes to like looking at pop culture, when it comes to I think keeping like the vibe light in my tribes, that's when like I see the FE kind of play a part.
Right. And I think you are definitely right that like the masculine functions definitely it's like the one that's like in your face, you know, like the
Yeah,
feminine one is kind of hard to
yeah,
see.
yeah,
Um,
right.
and they also released a video not too long ago where they said that the grand stack does matter. So even though you are tribal of self, that TI is still stronger than the FE.
Yeah,
Yeah,
so like I totally thought, you know, I was TI, and I could see like how because you're like um ENFP jumper, right? Like the play, blast, consume, sleep,
yeah,
blast. So like yeah, like the FI would still feel stronger like when you eventually use it.
yeah.
Probably. So
Every day.
I yeah, so like I guess I could see how like we would see ourselves as like self above tribe, because like when we do use that DI, and it's masculine, it's very like, you know, very strong, very punchy, very aware. Just with the DE, I guess, like what we're doing all day is that like we're dropping everything for people, you know, for other people.
Yeah, I mean it's like what you said, it's like an obligation, so you
Yeah,
feel like you have to do it and you
yeah,
feel bad
right.
when you don't do it.
Yeah,
Yeah,
can't not do it, you know,
yeah.
can't not do it. And it's the thing you feel guilty about the most. That like you feel like you're too selfish, you know. So did I. So like when I typed myself as like an INTJ way back then, you know, like I could still see that I was doing SE stuff. So I was like, well, maybe I'm the sleep last INTJ with like the double activated SE. And then like with the ISTP type, I was like, well, I have to be consume play because I'm definitely doing like some FE, like I'm not doing no FE, you know. But
Yeah.
I thought like as an ISTP that like I was way too tribe, I mean way too self, not enough tribe. I just needed to put in the tribe rep. But turns out it was just my DE lying to me, man, that I was just like not doing enough of my saviors.
Yeah, yeah. Well, I mean, I think when you type yourself as an ISTP, it was pretty close because it was still like the consume play. What do they call that? There's just a word for it, like the
You skip.
skip. Yeah, yeah. You're still a skip, so you type yourself like as a skip. So you kind of and you type yourself as an energy dom. So you got
Yeah.
yeah. You like you saw it. You know the whole thing was the decider stuff. So now
Yeah.
that you know you're not a single decider, you're not like the people problem is not the biggest problem. You're a double decider. How has that changed your view, like knowing that you're a double decider?
Yeah, I mean, I think it's a little bit different from like being your average energy dom ESTP, with the consume play, because like I still have like a little bit of like concern about like, you know, what are other people thinking, what's everyone doing, which is why, you know, I thought that, you know, I was like I was like too focused on like the self tribe game. What I didn't realize is that like IPs focus like so much on themselves that they're not seeing the tribe at all. You know, I had to admit that like, yeah, no, I am seeing the tribe. Um, that's why I'm so overly cautious about like lots of the things that I do and I say, because I'm anticipating like what like some negative reaction from the tribe, or I'm like pushing the tribe a little too far and then I need to like pull back a little bit. Um, but with the double decider, I think yeah, I guess in comparison to like a lot of people around me, I guess I'm a little bit more um balanced with like self and tribe. I guess it's just one of those things that like I still need to like see a little bit more. Because I thought I was like really weird. Like I thought I was like a double observer, like really balanced with that SE and that NI. But turns out the real balance is the self and tribe. I'm like I am using people and myself to like triangulate the information. Like that's exactly what I did when I typed, you know. So yeah.
So yeah, that would make sense. Like if you can see both the self and the tribe, then yeah, you would be more cautious. but at the same time, you're not scared of people too, because you kind of know what their perspective is. So, but
yeah, like it's like there is some kind of like there's some kind of like fear, but like it's kind of worked out pretty quickly, you know? Like the fear is there, but like I'm seeing their side, I'm seeing my side. And like when I like, you know, talk about it to somebody else, because usually I have to play process out loud, I I'm like, okay, well, you know, on their side, they were feeling this, but like on my side, this is like, you know, my TI perspective. And so then I was like, oh, you know, like you're able to do a little bit more with the balancing. I think the thing about it is like with double deciders, they can see the negativity on both sides. And so like that's probably why they think they're so obsessed with like tribe and self issues, you know.
I think also because your first function is it's a decider function. So play is a decider function. So you're gonna have
True.
you're gonna have more people problems than someone that has consume or blast
Yeah.
as their first function. So
Yeah.
it
Yeah.
makes sense. Yeah, like I have a lot of like decider issues too, but they get resolved. So you know, still don't
Right.
matter. So you know,
Right. Yeah.
um,
Yeah.
your play is double feminine. So
Yeah.
and it has feminine SE and feminine FE. So why don't we cover the feminine SE first? That's your first function. This is going to be like the king, the king in your
Yeah.
function stack. How do
Yeah.
you personally see that feminine SE, or how do you not see it? So
Definitely it's one of those things that like I don't see too much. Like I was telling Ian, like my type twin, because like he was like I asked his help to like type me. And then we both got me wrong, you know. We were like his type the whole time. That like we just like SE just feels invisible to us, you know, like it like we can see the results of having done SE, but we can't actually see SE like in the moment. Like we can actually like, you know, move in the moment and like act in the moment. We can do like a lot of like the gathering of like opinions, but like to us it's not something that's like I guess like conscious or like heavy or like immovable or something like that, you know? So the extroverted world in general is like something that's very hard to see. So I can't really see that much of SE at all, and I'm clumsy as hell, you know. So
yeah, feminine SE. But like when you mentioned Ian, I started thinking what he said to me during our interview. He's like,
yeah,
man, when I got type, it's not this is not exact words he said, but like paraphrasing. He's like, man, after I got type, I look at my doc, they were all black people. And I was like, I was
yeah,
like,
yeah.
every SEFE is all black.
It's black. It's black. Kevin Hart, Cherry Crews,
Yeah,
like
yeah,
Anderson Silva, right?
yeah, yeah.
And then
Wait,
yeah,
wait,
and then
is Anderson Silva SEFE or SETE?
I think he's SEFE.
Is he?
Um,
Sure. I okay.
I don't know, maybe.
Yeah,
I don't SE remember. I
yeah,
don't
it's
remember
fine.
that SE
It's
data
fine.
point. I remember Kevin Hart and Terry Crews. And then there's Jay Shetty.
Yeah,
But he's brown. He's
yeah,
like dark
yeah.
skin.
But still,
Um,
yeah, yeah.
so yeah, I guess I
But why
fit
is
right
that?
in,
Why,
you know?
why is
Yeah.
it's weird it's clustering towards SEFE. I'm like, what the hell? Like, what are the
Yeah,
odds? What are the odds?
the Samuel, the info dom SEFE, he's also black, you know.
Yeah.
So there
Well, I
we
mean,
go.
there a lot of like the INTJ rappers are also black. So like
Turned out, yeah.
Jay Z, Kanye
Snoop
West,
Dogg, Jay
yeah, Snoop
Z,
Dogg.
Kanye,
Yeah, yeah. So I was like, okay, there's a clustering happening here with race. Kind of
something going on,
interesting. Yeah.
maybe, yeah.
All right, dude. So there you go. You're double decider right there. Like you're not weird about it. It's like if I brought up the race thing with like other type like that a single decider, they'd get like really
Yeah,
weird.
depending on the crowd, man, you'd be in trouble, you know.
Yeah, yeah,
And then like like I don't really put like I don't necessarily agree like with the whole like correlation between like race and type. Maybe it's there, but like I don't necessarily agree like outright. You know, I'd probably have to see more ST. But then like for me, like it's like you're just throwing something out there. You know, like I could tell that you were just throwing something out there. It wasn't like anything serious. So I
yeah,
was like, well, it's
yeah.
not anything serious to me either. You know.
Yeah, well, I mean, I'm more talking about the information. Like we're both
Yeah,
obsessed
yeah,
with
exactly,
information.
exactly,
Yeah, yeah.
exactly.
We're like, we don't care
Exactly.
about the people, it's about the info. You know, so like no offense
Yeah.
to deciders, but like um I do have a theory about that though. It's like I bet
Yeah.
like back in the days when there was like slavery, it's like all the self-above tribe got killed off because they were like selfish and like
Oh, because
yeah
they're too okay.
yeah
Oh, I
yeah
see.
yeah that's kind of like my
The
theory.
ones most likely to like rebel and like get killed off.
Yeah
And so
yeah
all the tribe
exactly.
ones got like
Yeah, the ones that there was like
oh, okay.
yeah,
Okay.
it makes sense. It makes sense, like I mean, why is there so many like SEFEs like that's clustering in the US? I'm pretty sure if you type like in Africa, it would be different, but like
Yeah, maybe more than
yeah,
likely.
but
Yeah.
in like North America, like Jamaica's part of North America technically, so it's
I
like
guess, yeah, technically, yeah.
yeah. All right, cool, man. Let's cover your FE now. Your FE is feminine.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
the way the FE describe is you are looking for the tribe spectrum of values. Can you talk about like you scanning for the tribe spectrum of values and like kind of like going with like what the tribe values essentially?
Yeah. I think it's kind of like scanning for like tribe values is something where I guess you kind of like you pick up on what people like and don't, what people react very strongly to, whether or not it's positive or negative, and then what doesn't hit people at all, and then also tracking aspects of like SF culture, whether or not it's like current culture or not, like being able to understand that like many types of relationships, the diversity of relationships that you have in a group can be like a reflection of like the nature of the group dynamic, the group culture. Also, like with FE, it's not just like scanning for tribe values, it's also like interacting with tribe values as well. So like I'm a natural amplifier of whatever emotion is going on in my friend group. Like I will make funny jokes funnier, I will make dark jokes darker, like it will like, it's kind of one of those things where you kind of you see what's going on with the vibe. You might not understand the vibe, but you might see what's going on with the vibe, and you're playing around with the vibe, and like that's your main style of interaction.
Yeah, like The Rock is an ESTP, right? And he'll like yeah, he'll he'll make fun of people and like, but then
Right.
he'll backtrack later on to like
Yeah, like he'll stop, he'll like hug you, like he'll do that stuff. Yeah.
Yeah, he'll just be like, I'm just playing, like
Yeah, right.
like yeah, he
Right,
used to have
exactly.
beef with John Cena, and then John Cena had like decider problems, and then when they like,
Yeah.
and then like with like other popular people too, and he's like friends with all of them now, right? So it's like okay, yeah,
Yeah.
double
Right.
decider.
Right. Exactly.
So with extrovert feeling, it's feminine for you. So do you feel like when you do talk to people, like let's say someone's crying, do you cry with them because it's feminine feelings, and then but then they're not your emotions because it's like FE, right?
Right.
So
Right.
how does that feel like to like cry or share feelings with someone, but they're not like your emotion, but you can like
Yeah. So I guess what I guess it would be like for you with like FI and TE, it's like with TE, maybe like opinions on what works feels like external. So it feels like it's coming from like outside of you. And then, whatever you're working on with the T, it's kind of like it's not personal, it's external, it's coming from the outside going in. That's exactly what feelings are like for me, like very much a chemical machine. And so like what happens is that you can find yourself crying because somebody else is. I like definitely have like a lot of like emotional sponge behaviors where and it's double feminine too, right? So like the chemicals are moving me, right? Like I'm not pushing my chemicals onto the outside world, they're moving me instead. So things like the environment, like light, wind, temperature, color, like those stuff can move my emotions pretty strongly. People's emotions are usually, like, yeah, if somebody's crying, I might find myself crying with them. Usually like it's a lot of like rapid feedback too. So like I can be like crying with one person, and then like when they start laughing, I'll start like laughing with them, you know. So it's like it's definitely one of those things that happens like very quickly in real time. And yeah, so definitely everything from the outside world that could move my chemicals are moving my chemicals. And so like I usually find myself trying to distance myself from like anything that has too strong of an effect on my chemicals.
So you don't
that like
you don't like
yeah.
it? You don't like getting moved like so quick,
I
so
mean,
easily?
like sometimes like I will, but like other times like it's like what Dave said, it's like leaf in the wind syndrome, where like, you know, your whole day is ruined because like everything, like everything that's coming outside is like it's affecting you. So, you know, at some point, especially like when I'm, for example, working in my work environment, I prefer to work solo, like where I'm the only person in a room. There's nothing to move me. You know, I can curate my environment to make sure that like um, it's the kind of chemicals that like would move me in the way that I prefer. You know, but like in general, like even if I feel obligated to be moved, I might not necessarily like prefer being moved. You know.
Right. So
Yeah.
it's like a double-edged sword. Like it has,
Basically,
yeah.
yeah. Yeah.
You know, the only thing I don't like about FE is like the fake laugh of the FE. I hate that shit.
Oh, yeah.
Like someone tell a joke, but it's not funny, but you'll laugh because like you to kind of like spare them the embarrassment of like the quietness and stuff. You know?
Yeah. And like sometimes like my TI will come in, like, you know, like I'll laugh and like my TI will come in and be like, bro, that was not funny at all. You know, like, yeah, that joke sucks, you know?
Yeah.
But like, you know, it's like it's one of those things that I've definitely seen for sure. My dad is also SEFE. And he like a bad joke will come up on screen and he'll laugh and we're like, you know, it wasn't funny, and he's like, it was like a laugh of pain, you know, it's like a bad, you know, because it's a bad joke, but like I was laughing out of like pain. It's like definitely like FE is just, it's taking what's coming emotionally and just rolling with it completely, you know. I guess the fakeness of FE, I can like definitely see that for sure. I don't necessarily like it too much, but like I also know that it's the same thing that would make somebody with SEFE very socially adaptable, you know, like very with an environment. Like that's why probably I have a lot of friends, because I'm able to adapt to whatever social environment there is at the time, and I can like make space for all of them, you know. And like it can help too, you know, like if somebody like with FI is like, bro, you want to know something really embarrassing, and they'll give their FI, and I'll be like, you know, like I'll be like, yeah, that's great, you know, I make room for that FI and they feel valued, you know. That usually like I get a hit from that, like as much as they tend to.
Right. I think the good thing about FE though is like you have a good feel for like what the vibe is like. So you do your best to make sure it doesn't feel like awkward or like it's not cringy. Like it's like
the
vibe of the group. It's like it's flowing. It's going the right direction. I mean, it's not always has to be positive, but it has to be not awkward. Like it's like you go to a funeral, then the vibe should be like, you know, everyone should be.
It has to be I guess cohesive, you know. It has to be like a kind of you know, across the board consensus on this is the thing that we're feeling right now. So like you said with the funeral, if everybody's sad, then everybody's sad, you know. And sometimes you can even use FE like in a particular direction. Like so I remember like at a funeral, I was giving like a tribute, and I told like a particular kind of joke, and it was like an FE appropriate joke, and like everyone laughed. Like I could tell that like, you know, at some point it was getting like everybody was getting too down. So I was like, okay, like let's lighten this up a little bit, you know, let's remember that we actually like love this person and they gave us good vibes. So like let's also share some good vibes, you know. And so like if it was like FI, you know, it would be funny to the FI, but it might be awkward to everyone else because like the FI might be laughing and everyone's like,
for FI, this is what they would do. They would go to the funeral with like a popcorn and be like, oh, never liked
Oh
this
my God.
never liked this motherfucker. Good riddance,
Yeah.
like it's, like
Yeah.
it's
Yeah.
you know,
If they're not in the FI, like they're done, like they're way done. They're way
yeah,
done.
yeah. I mean, it's kind of funny, but it's also fucked up, right? Like so.
Yeah, like relatives, like funeral relatives, like with FI, like you have to be careful about what they're going to go up to say. Like if
Yeah,
the
because,
person is not in their FI, don't send them up there.
yeah,
Yeah,
yeah.
yeah, for sure.
Maybe like the lead TE is more okay than the lead FI.
Yeah, right.
Yeah, because I think the lead TE, they can like feel everyone's feelings too, but like the lead FI is like, hey, don't give a shit.
Yeah, like the lead TEs like at least can see the tribe. They're like, even if they're not like doing it like on a like emotional type of thing, they'll be like saying this kind of thing would not work for this kind of scenario. You know what I mean?
Well,
but if it's just like,
well, lead TEs can still feel what everyone's feeling. It's just that we don't know how to react appropriately to it. But we can feel like, we can feel the room. Like David Chan confirmed it in one of their talk, and because before I've always felt like I'm they call it like Professor X. He has like the cerebrum, and he's connected to all the mutants. So it's like all the DEs are like that. They're like, even if they have TE, they can feel everyone's feelings. And
interesting.
And like if someone's suffering, I can feel it. But like it doesn't mean I'm gonna react appropriately to it, because I'm still FI, right? But but if you have FE, then you'll say the right thing to make the vibe.
Yeah. I wonder how that works like for TE with like the reverse. Like maybe FEs can like see what everyone's thinking, but like they might not necessarily be obligated to like move their TI to what works for everybody.
Yeah, or you might be confused. You're like, huh, why do they think that?
Yeah. There's also that for sure. And like, they might be insecure about their TI, so everything, like after saying everything that it's, if that makes sense to you,
Yeah. Well, since we're in this topic already, let's talk about your TI and your ST consume. So ST is like reporter, and then your TI. So you have masculine TI. You have it in a savior state as well because you have consume second. Can you just share how you personally experienced that ST consume and that TI?
Yeah, so I like, it's definitely seen as like the consuming tools, consuming facts and statistics, that kind of stuff. I think I definitely do that a lot. Lots of the times when I'm reading or like watching some show or some documentary, like lots of the times it's to learn something. Like there is definitely that like SF entertainment value that like I might want to get from a show, but like in general, if I've chosen to like consume, like this is a thing that I want to like intellectually sort out. So usually it's one of those things where it's also a fact checker, for sure. Like it's definitely a stress tester of what is accurate, what is like true, what makes sense, at least to me. I think there's a whole lot of that going on too, where something can be entertaining and everything, but if it's not accurate, if it doesn't hold any weight in the real practical ST world, I usually don't want too much to do with it. And that usually like gets filtered by the consume. Consume is also challenging yourself, your DI, with divergent like OE information. That's definitely one of the things that I did when I was like in this community, like taking all the new information on like OP and how it worked and everything, and then putting my DI up there and being like, okay, I'm going to challenge my identity like with this new information, being like, what kind of type am I? What does this mean for me? And then updating my identity accordingly, with the actual like SE data that was going on, So consume looks a lot like that for me.
Do you not get bored gathering like facts? Like it's like, for me, it's like reading a dictionary, like Eminem has ST and he like reads a dictionary to get more words to use for raps, right? So I'm like, how the hell do those like lead STs not get bored reading factual stuff? Like how do you not get bored? Like,
I mean, that's a good question. I think some things will definitely bore us. Like we'll definitely like, there's no it's ST consume, so it's not just like it's not like SD play where it's like all the entire spectrum of like what works or not. We're taking in the specific SE data that's like intellectually interesting to us and RTI, you know? So it's kind of like if we want to figure something out, then we're gonna take in everything for that specific thing, and it won't be boring, you know? Yeah.
So correct me if I'm wrong. So basically what you guys are doing with your ST and your NT is like the NT is your identity, and that kind of that's like what you use to solve puzzle, but you can't solve the puzzle without the materials or the puzzle pieces.
Yeah.
So you need to get the ST to consume to get the puzzle pieces, and then you go inside and then you piece it together.
Pretty much, yeah.
Oh, okay.
So like, so as an example, I like made a doc recently about like OP and like my understanding of OP, and it's like a pretty long, like thorough doc. And that would never have come without all the SE data that I was gathering, not just like from the classes, but like from your YouTube channels, from everybody in the community. Like it's taking in all that like sensory information, being like, okay, this could help me TI solve this puzzle. And then like bringing everything into like this kind of NI conclusive set of points in like linear order, where you're like, okay, I have the answer to the puzzle now, and it's grounded by all the information that I've taken in, you know?
Right. It kind of boggles my mind now, like based on how you're describing it, like how like the consume last people are doing it, because like how do you solve the puzzle if you don't have the pieces, you know?
Yeah, with the consume last.
Yeah. Like what are you solving? Because you need pieces.
I mean, like I think about that like all the time. With like, because I have blast labs, man. Like I'm double activated with the consume. So I'm like, if you're putting something out there, how have you not, you know, taken the time to like you know, take in the information for you and see what that means for you? But like I think what they might be doing is like they're projecting their known information onto like this new territory. You know, like they're gonna like assume that the information that they already have stored is already applicable to this new arena, and so they're going to have something to say about it, even if they don't actually know how much they have to say about it.
Yeah, but their known information is empty because it's only been passive consume, right? Like Dave is a good example of a consume last that actually consume like shitload of like materials.
Yeah.
And now because he has all these tools, then he can present.
He can actually give,
because I see Blast as the final product. Like after you, because like you can use play to kind of discuss it with other people to gather information from someone. Consume, like you said, for you specifically, which actually thanks for how you describe it, where you're not consuming all the boring shit, you're only consuming what you need, right?
So I'm consuming my boring shit, man. Like it's it's the one that
but they're engaging for you because you're using them to solve your puzzle, so it's not like it's necessary,
right?
So you know, with the play and the consume, afterwards you go inside your body. I think the way you're doing it is kind of like the right way. Like play first to discuss, consume to take in the information yourself, and then later on you go to NT to like solve the puzzle. And then the last part you're not doing is blast, which is like, okay, now you present the final product.
Yeah. Right? So it's like definitely like with what blast last feels like. Because another example I can give is like my dad. He has like this like wealth of information stored, and he's like wanted to like write this book for like wanted to write his book for like a really long time.
Yeah.
And like what happens is that he plays it out, he consumes, he sleeps on it, and like the information is like crystal clear. It's like really good. And then you're like, okay, now it's time to produce it, you know? And he's like, no, I need more. Like I need more information. And you know, like it just doesn't, right? Like it takes too long to get the final product out, because like you want it to be perfect. So like it's definitely like a challenge there for sure.
The problem with Blast Last also, what I find is like how you imagine you're gonna produce something is never what it comes out in real life.
Right, exactly.
Yeah, because you don't have enough practice, so you need to practice blasting for the blast for it to match whatever you're thinking, and
exactly. And so, if you don't produce it, then like you'll never really know how valuable it is outside of yourself.
Yeah,
so,
you also have to expect that when you blast, if your blast lasts, like what you like your first few blasts can be shit. Like it's gonna be garbage.
Yeah,
Yeah, yeah,
expect it to be bad. Like
yeah.
that's exactly like that's why the doc is like my OPS doc has like complete attempt version 1, you know, like tricking myself into thinking, okay, this is just the first version. First
Yeah.
versions are always bad. So,
Yeah.
you know, I can like allow myself to like, you know, produce this stuff. And like worst case scenario, you know, I'll just like redo some of the information, you know?
Yeah, so you don't cringe because like yeah, your first blast will be like a pile of shit, and you'll be like, ah,
Yeah. Yeah.
it's like
You
no, it's fine. It's a prototype, you know. It's like
just have
whatever.
to drop the expectations and be like, this is bad. This is my bad attempt. And like what you realize, especially if your blast lasts, is that like you're not really a good judge of how valuable the information is. Because like you're not a good judge of how good you are at blasting, you know. So like when you actually do blast, like it might be bad, but it might also be really good, you know, and everyone's like, wow, this is your first attempt, you know, like this, there's a spectrum of like ways it could go. And in general, like you won't know that until you actually produce it. And so like that's why you should, you know, that's why you should produce it, like if you feel like you need to.
Your blast is NF.
Yeah.
So you are teaching people about purpose, like life meaning, purpose. So it's abstract. It's a value, and it's a lot of motivational stuff too, kind of like what Gary Vee does. So your blast last, do you find yourself like not doing like the motivational stuff as much, or like the abstract like values, like believe in yourself, you know, or like you know, like Gary Vee will say like those kind of stuff, right? It's like, yeah, just post. You never know what people are gonna like, so just post it.
Yeah.
You know, like
Yeah.
just be you. You know, that's the kind of stuff he'll say, right? So like, yeah.
Yeah. Um, I think I have a really interesting relationship with NF Blast, because like I grew up in a very like religious household, which is very NF Blasty. And so like regardless of whether or not I liked it or felt obligated to, um, I was always encouraged to do like a lot of NF Blast. And like it definitely feels very woo-woo, very like, you know, abstract, like way too abstract and too kind of weird. Sometimes like I can definitely see like when an NF blast is too disconnected from actual ST facts. But like for me, like when I'm NF blasting, it's kind of one of those things where I have to go through the first three animals. So if it's spontaneous blast, I might not be able to tell somebody anything like too meaningful. But if it's a topic that I've already like looked into, if it's something that I already like SE saw that might be valuable to them, then I'll do the play, consume, sleep on it, and then like have that blast ready so that when it's coming out, you know, it's coming out and it means something. I definitely don't blast as often though.
So part of blast is NI. This is your fourth
Yes.
option and the one that you're gonna have the most trouble with.
Yeah.
But your NI is masculine, so you can actually see it because it's masculine. Can you
Yeah.
talk about your relationship with your NI? And you're more than welcome to use NF blast or NT sleep as an example. You do have double masculine NT sleep. So how do you see your NI like narrowing down like all the facts into like a concise like abstract concept, you know?
Yeah, it's definitely a function that I feel like I can see, which is why in general, like many SEFEs type themselves as like INTJs. Definitely like me and Ian, we typed ourselves as INTJs because that masculine and I down the bottom. It's like whether or not you like it, it's kind of it's shoving. It's shoving, it's saying like this pattern like definitely has to be it. But you can't, because you have blast last, you can't come out and say that until you've done the play, consume, sleep, you know? And so like with my relationship with NI is that like NT sleep is like where I feel like NI is easy for me. But the NF blast that's where I feel like NI is really hard. The kind of like puzzling it out in my inner world. I felt like I feel like I'm doing that all the time. And in general, like a lot of people know me for my NT. And they will like, I thought, I was nerd. Like, I didn't think I was an SF cool guy, man. I thought I was like nerdy. Like, like lots of people would be like, yeah, like he's like smart. He's like whatever. So like, that's really what I was known for, like that NT inner world. So I thought that my NI was like really good. Turns out, the NI is at the bottom. And especially when it comes to IC communication, and also anticipating an emotional response. So I can see an emotional response in real time and react to that. But when it comes to using my NI to project into the future what an emotional response is, I'm not doing that nearly as much. And then also, even with my like FE feelings, like the chemicals that are moving me, it takes me a while to be able to say, for the far future, I will NF like this thing, I will NF value this thing,
Speaking of NI, one of the things that Dave and Shan always say about people with NI is like NI at the bottom is they're scared of ghosts or spirits. Do you relate to that notion? Like, are you scared of like the unknown, the abstract, like this?
I mean, not scared of ghosts, because like I don't like. Well, I guess like I've NT puzzled that out, and I'm like, oh, well, ghosts are not like statistically probable, but like there's definitely, I have anxiety disorder, for example.
Yeah.
Which is like you're kind of like Murphy's Law machine on overdrive. It's like you don't know what's going to happen, and so like because it's at the bottom and you haven't put in those reps, you're not leaning into the unknown enough. You're not doing enough to like challenge that like narrative of future projection, and so you're kind of scared of lots of things, like maybe not necessarily supernatural, but like the fear of ghost analogy like checks out enough for you to say that like, yeah, I like lots of things like more than they should probably freak me out, if I feel like a bad outcome is coming, I'm hyper focused. It's gone from like SE endless distraction to NI. I have to make sure that this thing is resolved, kind of a thing. So yeah, definitely have that like NI fear of ghosts. But like because my anxiety is generalized, it's like more for several unknown variables, right?
Right. All right, dude. I have two last questions for you, and we'll wrap up the interview. The first one is your sexual modalities. You are tester and visual. So tester is kind of like smell, and then and like visual is obviously visual. But so how do you personally like learn using those modalities?
I think with tester, I'm just like interacting with everything. I am like, I'm like a very like touchy-feely type person. I'm always like, it's definitely not kinesthetic. There's not a lot of force to it. It's very, it's very gentle. It's very slowly interacting with things. It's very like sensual, interacting with and like indulging in those like really soft senses, So definitely the touching and the smell and stuff, but then also, like tasting. Lots of people who are tester and have savior consume tend to be very into like eating lots of different types of foods. That applies to me as well. I have a lot of that, like, desire to like interact with the outside world in that kind of like soft, gentle way, So, and I'm always like in general, like NT experimenting too. So everything is an experiment to me. Everything is like a personal project to me. And it's, all a matter of like how interesting it is, how much I want to figure it out. And then, always interacting with the outside world to like test my intuitions and what I know. So yeah, definitely have that tester vibe for sure. Yeah. With visual and audio, I think like balanced too. I learn in those ways well as well. I think the only thing I really just don't do is like that extreme kinesthetic force, where like in an effort to not break something, I will produce way less force than I should, and like it will take me like way too long to like open a package or something, you know.
Gotcha. All right, last question for you, man. This one's gonna be a funny one. NI at the bottom, don't control me, bro syndrome. Talk about
Yeah.
like like fighting the system. Like the system cannot control you.
Yeah, yeah,
How do you
yeah.
how do you experience it? And do you have any tidal waves to kind of use as a supporting document or something?
Supporting evidence. Yeah. Definitely got that. Don't control me, bro. Human need. I don't like being controlled. Like sometimes with demon sleep, like I don't even want to control me. Like don't control me, bro. Like I say that to people, but I also say that in the mirror. Like you don't control me. But yeah, in general, like it's very hard to like stick to something, for example. Like like if I feel like I'll gather a lot of books, for example, right? And then I will sometimes feel like controlled by the fact that like now I have to like stick through reading the entire book. I will like, even for things I like want to do, like I'll SE gather a list of movies I want to watch. And then now it feels like it's a list that can control me. Because like it's the stuff I want to watch, but like I'd have to actually like go through everything. And then in general, like with people that don't control me, that don't control me, but also DE, it's kind of like very interesting because like someone will ask me to do a favor for them, right? And I'll just be like, I'll tell them no, and then I'll get up and do that favor for them, like it's kind of like me wanting to exercise that like, leave me alone, like, you don't control me, but also feeling that DE obligation to like do that thing for them. And definitely for like long-term plans, anything that's like in the far future, sometimes like I don't want to, I can see like not wanting to be controlled. I can see like not wanting to be exploited by like the system and like everything like that, and so like I had to realize in general that like if I don't implement some level of control, then I'm gonna be the one that's always controlled, my NI tidal wave in general. I mean, like I have a lot of NI tidal waves because like again, like anxiety, and it happens all the time. I think my main NI tidal wave so far has to do with the fact that like anytime I want to do something like long term, I absolutely cannot. Like I feel like I feel that urge to like run away immediately, I had to for like music, for example. I've done music very often on and off. And I really want to get like good at it like long term. But anytime I feel like I'm too deep into music, sometimes I feel that urge to run away. And then I have to go through that like learning curve of like, okay, it's gonna feel boring right now. And like if I stick it out for like this long, then it's gonna get interesting again. I promise, And then like when I actually decide I'm gonna implement some NI control in my life, oh my God, it's like weight off my chest, man. Cause like I'm free to do everything else, like I don't have that thing that's always like feels like it's controlling me all the time anymore. So now I'm free to do everything else. So yeah, definitely that that demon and I like desire to always be free will definitely come at the cost of like the things that I want to do long term. And that's exactly why right now I'm trying to put everything in place so that like I'm not like controlled by, well, that I'm not controlled by my desire not to be controlled by everything,
Right. Well, I definitely share that with you as a fellow EP.
Yeah.
But Daniel, I gotta wrap up this interview now. So
Sure, no problem.
thanks for sharing about your life and whatnot. So take care, man. Enjoy the rest of your day.
Yeah, you too, bro. Take care.